Oi, wake up, sleeping giant. What are you doing? Caught you napping on your dreams again. It's okay to dream as long as you wake up and fulfill those dreams. Today, I feel like talking about fear. Fear is the most powerful emotion known in the universe that stops us from being the person, the creation we want to be. It stops us from fulfilling our purpose in life. When we're born as human beings in this life, we're only born with two fears. What are they? That's right. The first fear is the fear of loud noises. Can you believe that? As a little baby, when you're in your mother's womb, you develop that fear. Not when you come out, when you're in the womb. You can hear stuff when you're in the womb. When you hear loud bangs in the middle of the night, you might be in your mum's womb jumping like, oh, there's a bang. But to overcome that fear, what the little baby needs is someone to sing through to the mother's womb. You know, I used to do that when my baby was like our daughter was in the baby mama's womb. I just felt like singing to our baby. You know, when the daughter came out, it's no wonder she knew my voice. It's not like, oh, that's a strange voice. It's more like, oh, so you're the bro that was singing to me. You made me feel safe. I no longer need to be fearful. Anyway, that's the first fear that we're born with, the fear of loud noises. And now you know how to help a baby overcome those fears right from before their day one, before they're born. The second fear is the fear of falling. So a baby, once they're born, will do all that they can not to fall. Even before they learn how to crawl or before they learn how to walk, we all teach ourselves how not to fall. You know, and that's significant because that's an innate intelligence, an intelligence that you can't be taught. It's an intelligence you brought with you from the womb. You have this fear of falling, and instinctively you brace yourself from the laws of gravity. And that's how intelligent we all are. Instinctively learning a way to overcome an innate fear with an innate response. So why aren't we doing that as adults? When we learn fears, because every other fear that we have in our life, apart from those two basic fears, we learnt them. You learned social anxiety. You learned the fear of failing academically at school or physically during sports. You learned those fears. You know, when you're a baby, you didn't care about, oh, I hope I fit in with this group. They're your family, bro. You don't care. Or as a baby, like, oh, I hope I'm saying the right thing. I'm not saying anything bad. You can't talk, bro. You're a baby. But when you start growing up and pass through all those stages and become an adult, you learn more and more and more fears. Whereas you only need those two original fears to survive. Hear a loud noise, move away from it. Sense the the fear of falling, don't fall. And the good thing about learning the fears that we've learnt, it means if we've learnt them, we can unlearn them. And there's so many different ways you can unlearn a bad habit. You can unlearn, you can retrain your brain away from those fears. One of the most easy ways is face them, to see if your fear is actually justified. So back in the days, there used to be a program online or on TV or whatever about, a crew of people wanting to face their worst fears. So, for example, there's an episode where a girl had arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. So in that show, they just slowly trained her how to overcome spiders. So they started out by just giving her like a little spider in a jar and putting it in her hand. And that was freaking her out hard. It's like, there's a spider in a jar in my hand. But because there was a safety barrier in the form of that jar, she felt confident that she could hold that spider because she was in full control. And then they taught her more about that species of spider, how it's very timid. It's not poisonous, and in fact the spider is more scared of her than she is of that spider. So once you began to understand the spider, but realistically she's beginning to understand the fear, then they asked her to take the lid off the jar. But through education, just minimal education about that one little spider, the fear in her slowly was surpassed by confidence. And that's how you overcome fears. One of the many ways to overcome fears is through confidence. And confidence comes about through education. So they educated her, they schooled her up about that spider. Then her emotions started changing from fear to confidence, because as they're teaching her, she's holding this jar, she's looking at the spider, she's becoming more and more confident. Now she has full understanding that the spider is scared of her. So she takes the jar, the lid off the jar, and now she's holding it, just looking at the spider. Then they asked her when she was ready if she could just tip the jar upside down into the palm of her hand. And then they were just reasoning with her, well, you've already got the spider in your hand. The spider is in the jar. So those two things aren't going to happen, aren't going to change. You'll still have the jar and you'll still have the spider. The difference is you're going to feel the spider in your hand, and the spider's not going to do anything. So she did it. She just flipped the jar up, turned it over, put her in the palm of her hand, and felt the spider. She chilled with it for a while. Then they said, just take the jar off. You might as well. The jar's only protecting the spider, it's not protecting you. The spider is in your hand. And even if there was anything to protect you from, the jar's not going to do it. The spider is on your skin. So she took the jar off her hand, and then the spider just walked around her arm up to her neck, freely. By the end of the episode, they had her lying in a tub of spiders. And that's facts. You know, if you want to overcome fears, you got to face them. When you're facing them, you don't just like, oh yeah, go grab that spider. It might be a redback, bro. You got to educate yourself into like overcoming that fear. Don't just go picking up random spiders. They might be poisonous. Look at you trying to be a hero, trying to be an awoke giant, and you pick the wrong spider. You got to learn your way out of fears. That's how fears got into you. You learnt them into you. Now you have to learn your way out of them. Or you got to learn them, educate your fears out of you intelligently. Don't be just like this dumb person trying to like, no, I'll overcome my fears. Next minute, get bitten and you die. Or another good example of a person overcoming fear is Mike Tyson. There's footage of the bro when he was like 16 or 17. He's in the finals of the American Golden Glove Championships. So it's the best amateur in American boxing. His crew is walking him. There's footage. Go and look it up. His crew is walking him from the locker room of the stadium to the ring. As they're walking towards the ring to the actual fight, like his opponent's waiting, the crowd's waiting, it's the final. The bro just bails out the side door. He books it. He finds a side door and he just bolts out of the stadium. So Mike Tyson's doing these ones, sprinting down the road. His crew's sprinting after him. And the cameraman sprinting after them. Everyone's chasing Mike like, bro, come back. You got to go fight. They catch up with him. They settle him down enough, but he's hyperventilating. He's crying. He's crying uncontrollably, bro. Like you've never seen a person cry like that. Guarantee, bro. Go look up the footage, and you see him bawling his eyes out. He's hyperventilating, shaking in fear. He doesn't want to do it. Anyway, they drag him to the ring. Come on, Mike, you can do it. You know, you only have to beat this one guy, fight this last fight, and you're the national champion. Mike's like this. Okay, then. How could I do it? How could I beat him? Bro, 20 seconds later, he walks out of the ring. You know, the other guy, a white guy, giant, he wasn't a sleeping giant, he was an actual giant. Mike Tyson just demolished him out of pure fear. And that's how fear can help us. It will heighten our responses, our reflexes. It will help us focus our mind on overcoming the challenge in front of us. But leading up to that fight, he went through the exact same process as the Spider Girl did. In training, he developed over thousands and thousands of hours muscle memory that even if he wasn't prepared for the fight or wasn't thinking properly for the fight, he could put his body into that ring and the body would do it because the body knew no other way. His body didn't know how to lose. His body only knew how to win. And that came from educating himself via all that rigorous training for hours and hours, days, weeks, months, years, experiences in other fights leading to that final fight, jumped in and bang, 20 seconds later came out. So with those two initial fears in our life, and the ones that we learn throughout our lives, we still only have those 3 types of responses: flight, fight, or freeze. And Tyson, in that fight, or leading into that fight, experienced all 3. He froze first, because he's like, nah, man. And then he flew out of the stadium, so he employed the flight mechanism. Then they dragged him back into the ring, and he fought, bro. He fought. So that's what we need to do, brothers and sisters, sleeping giants. You want to reach your goals, you want to fulfill your dreams. You may experience being frozen because of fear. You may temporarily flee from the experience, the challenge in front of you because of fear. But eventually, you will fight. Love y'all.